is in my phone.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
What's going on?
We have one goal today on this Wacky Wednesday. It's to not hear this sound.
Dong, dong, dong.
How about Jerry Reynolds being the consummate professional?
I don't know what's going on. I don't know if anybody can hear me out there, but
taking
Jerry
your
eats
questions.
Krispy Kreme donuts. No, I'm a diabetic boy. Be
That
honest with you.
question didn't age very well.
I'd love to eat them.
Oh my goodness! Huge thanks to Jerry. That's how we went off the air. That's how it went. I had to hop on. Couldn't even get on video. I'm like, Jerry, thanks, man. We're out. Peace. So, very appreciative for him live streaming. You never know what's going to happen. What's going on? How you doing? I called it a Wacky Wednesday because it really has been bizarre, very bizarre as the day has developed. And we're going to go through what I'm talking about. Some of it might require a warning to get the little ones away from the TV for a good couple minutes. Nothing too bad, but want to be fair because this is a sports show. We try to keep it as family as we can, but the NFL owners, I just don't know what goes on behind closed doors with these guys. And that's what it is. It's an old boys club. Wait till you hear the analogy used by Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie. It will put to shame Jerry Jones. I promise you. We'll revisit that as well. You've got the conference finals kicking off in New York tonight. I've got a few thoughts. I spent a good 2 hours looking for any type of audio that is playable from Knicks fans. So I ask you, if you don't have a horse in the race, are you paying attention to the basketball or what the Knicks fans are going to do? I don't condone everything that they do, like throwing trash bags at the opposing team's fans, but man, different group, completely different group, entertaining group. Did find some audio that we can play as well. Some NFL rule changes. The Thunder roll last night. We'll talk about SGA. Another thing, how does the NBA do this? How does it leak out? Report SGA MVP of the NBA. Literally 6 hours ago, they posted the finalists, I believe, on NBA comms. On X, it's my goodness, man. The NBA just continues to step into it. But Minnesota, you got to wonder about Anthony Edwards' ankle. You got to wonder. That's his second or third roll. And we're going to hit Domas Sabonis today. This is going to be the first step in going over each king. We're going to listen to his exit interview. We're going to look at his numbers, kind of break down his season. Did he take a step forward? Did he take a step back? Did he do a side shuffle? We'll kind of dissect that as well. And your calls, as always, don't forget tonight you got Grant. We're doing a doubleheader. He'll be back 8 o'clock tonight doing another open forum show. Did you see him from Thailand last night? How about that view? Holy bleep. Thailand looks beautiful. So hit him up. I guess he's there for a wedding. Very interesting. Raj's Fashions. Go check him out. He comes to town once a year. So let's get into it. Let's make it a good Wednesday. Want to hear from you. Call the show. Text this. Well, you can't text the show today, but call the show. Put your comments in the chat. We will get to it on the other side. Court's in session on If You Don't Like That.
lights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we
Holy moly, Zimbabwe!
And welcome back in on a Wednesday. Ryan in Sacktown with you. How's it going? We're going to get to your comments in a minute. Let me know where you're watching from, what you doing, anything you want to talk about specifically. Conference finals in the East kicking off tonight. Jalen Brunson versus Tyrese Halliburton. A lot going on with that series. How do you see that series playing out? Because you have two contrasting and different styles, and two teams that like to enforce their will in different ways. So we'll hit that here in a little bit. I'll put the link back in the chat. If you want to call the show, we can talk whatever you want to talk about. I'm going to do the rundown here in a second, give you a little bit of a sampling of the things that I want to get to as the day goes along. But the NBA playoffs, first and foremost, game one of the Western Conference Finals in the books. The Thunder rolled last night. They absolutely rolled. SGA, I don't know why this guy's getting so much hate. All I have heard over the last 18 hours is, oh, his game's ugly. He cheats. He's effective. Like, have we forgot what fundamentals are in basketball? Like, there's something more to basketball than a three-point shot or a 360 dunk. He's like an old throwback. Like, SGA is one of those dudes, and I think you could kind of argue Anthony Edwards to a degree is a throwback too, but he's one of those guys that could have played in the 90s, probably could have played in the 80s too. So I thought the Thunder looked good. Now, Anthony Edwards, that's the big question. What's going on with that ankle? As you know, when you sprain an ankle, and I am not a doctor, I have simply been through it. When you sprain an ankle, that ankle is so much more likely to roll again and again. It's because those tendons get loosened up. So at this point in the season, shoot him up, do what you need to do. You know he's probably going to be on the floor, so we can talk about that game as well. As I said, there's reports that SGA is the MVP, as it should be. He was going to get the MVP treatment before the MVP leak. Yeah, I agree that SGA should be the MVP of the NBA. And whether you agree or disagree on how these awards are voted on, it hits all the standards. Best team in the NBA, highest net rating in the history of the NBA. Now, he's got a lot of help. That is a deep team, but he has really, honestly, if you were shot with truth serum before SGA went to Oklahoma City, did you really know who SGA was other than just a guy on the Clippers? Not a lot of people did, so he's part of that Paul George trade. But congratulations to him, reportedly. Hopefully, they will do it right, give him the trophy before game two. So that's the latest there as we roll along. You also have hockey tonight. Man, I am getting so addicted to hockey right now. It is exciting.
They score! Can you believe it? My goodness!
Edmonton tonight kicks off with the Dallas Stars. I know that Adam will have a keen interest in that game. He has hopped on the hockey bandwagon. I know my dog, my man, Sea-Dog, the original dog in the King's Court, big Edmonton fan. He will be watching, so you can catch that tonight as well. As for the rule changes in the NFL, there's going to be a change to the onside kick rule. Breaking. Owners have passed a rule change that allows teams to declare onside kicks at any point during a game if trailing. Well, you're still declaring it. I don't like the declare part. I get it. It's one of the more violent plays in football. Don't they need to experiment with something other than an onside kick? Like maybe a 4th and 25 from the 25? And if you convert, you get the ball at the 20. Get creative. I just don't think there's that much more you can do with this play. You have neutered this play basically out of football, but nonetheless, a change to it. The Eagles smiling. They are happy. Tush push stays in effect. It is not going to be banned this year. So whether you are on the side of that as a good thing or you hate it, it will remain in effect. Here's what I got to say. Stop it. Just stop it. Like, there was this whole debate about it's not a football play. My counter to that is, what is a football play? Isn't it creativity? Doesn't Andy Reid get with his guys on Tuesdays and they call it lab time? It's either Tuesdays or Wednesdays. And they come up with new plays. They try to create new sets. And the coaching staff will sometimes put them into the playbook. So a football play can really theoretically be anything. So now you're going to ban this? No, there was no way it was going to happen. Now, the reaction to this and the way that Jeffrey Lurie reportedly explained his excitement, not so great. Again, old boys club, what goes on behind closed doors with these owners? Could you imagine being a fly on the wall? The candid conversations between these owners. I'm not going to tell you what he said yet, but let me tell you this. This is fairly mild compared to what Jeffrey Lurie had to
For
say.
me, it's a reminder. I, too, have been here 23 years. And it is a reminder. I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so having said that, I want me some glory hole.
Yeah, Jerry. You think, just wait, we'll get there. We will get there. I'm sure some of you have heard it. Talked about New York Knicks fan, man. I have scoured the internet just trying to find some audio to describe the excitement that's going on in New York City, because I do subscribe to the thinking that the NBA is better when the New York Knicks are better. We haven't really seen it in my lifetime. Not going to say my age. I don't want to do the drop, but I think it's a good thing. Now, the fans, like every fan base has their things. Like if the Sacramento Kings won a championship, realistically, and we have got some hardcore Kings fans here, to be watching, listening to a show that revolves around the Sacramento Kings on May 21st, when the Kings are damn near at the bottom of the pit, looking up, trying to find a route to climb out, to be watching this show, you love this team. Do we really think we'd be flipping trash cans on people? Would we be burning cars? Throwing couches into the river if the Kings won a championship? You see fan bases do that stuff all the time. Here's a little sampling of Knicks fan.
Question. I got one question. Show KD.
Like, did you catch that? You've got like 40 people. No, excuse me. Check that. Like 80 people jumping up and down like Cotton Eye Joe is playing over the speakers saying, KD, we don't need him. Yeah. How about this one? This one's even better.
New York Knicks run New York City.
Bing bong.
Tell me a little something, KD. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
Dude, Knicks fan has a memory like a horse. Now, I don't know where Knicks fan, especially these Knicks fans, are getting the money to get into these games, because the price is astronomical. It's incredible what it costs to get into MSG for some of these games. But listen to this one more time. Listen to this dude in the middle.
New York Knicks run New York City.
Bing bong.
Tell me a little something, KD. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
It's crazy. I would like to think Sacramento fan would handle this a little bit better. Like I just don't see Kings fan going to this length, but I guess we've never been there. We don't know. Hopefully we will be there sometime soon. A couple other things. Last thing that I wanted to talk about on the rundown. Look, Kendrick Perkins is taking some right now online. Okay. And I don't get it. We're not going to sit here and make fun of him because of his size, but you know what you're getting with Kendrick Perkins. After all, they call him Big Perk. They don't call him Small Perk. They don't call him Skinny Perk. They say Big Perk on the broadcast. So why is everybody making such a big deal about this picture of Kendrick Perkins next to Stephen A. Smith? Like, I don't get it. And by the way, I don't know what that drop's from. In fact, the Stockton Kings play that drop all the time. And I couldn't, sometimes with song lyrics, you don't know exactly what they're saying and you're kind of like, and you just go along with it. I had no idea what that was until somebody told me that, but I don't even know what it's from. What is that from? I mean, look, but okay, we all know that Kendrick Perkins is big. It's not a secret. Like I said, they call the guy Big Perk on TV.
Fat.
Do you think he's going to show up and be skinny? They do say TV adds 15 pounds. Lay off him. I don't get why everybody's getting on him, man. Like, now, if you were calling him, just Perk, if you were calling him Mini Perk, if you were calling him Slim Perk, then I would understand why the internet would be confused. But what's there to be confused about? The dude is Big Perk.
Fat.
That's what. No, it's not what I'm trying to say. That is what the internet is trying to say. So, anyways, your turn to chime in. I have set the table. There is a lot to get to. Wow. Let's see. Here we go. We're going to let Dennis kick us off. What do they have 15 camera? Why do they have 15 cameras on him? I don't know, Dennis. You think Big Perk needs 15 cameras to be encapsulated in one shot? Looks like he ate 6 Krispy Kreme donuts. No, dude. I was feeling much bigger than that after those. I was feeling much bigger, but I was accountable. I came here. I told all of you. I said, look, I did something bad and I paid it forward. I said, don't let your kids pick up that habit. Don't do it. Stephen A. Smith is tiny. Stephen A. Smith travels with like a crew. That dude's got like 5, 6, 7 people around him at all times. And here we go. They're all coming in. Big Perk handling his blindness in the kitchen. Business in the kitchen. Well, I mean, okay, let's be fair. Dude is in LA. Some of the best dining in the world. Bing bong is a viral catchphrase tied to New York City. Okay. Bing bong. All right. Now I get it. All right. Thank you, Dennis. Needed the education there. Thanks for hooking it up. Who else is in the house? We got Dennis. BJ, what's up, man? Hello, fanatics in the chat. Hope everybody is doing well. Thank you for that, BJ. Everything is good here. I was pleasantly surprised today. Oh my gosh, I was pleasantly surprised. So with my vehicle, there was one thing that needed to be tweaked, right? And I didn't really want to take it in because you don't know if that little thing's going to turn into something else. No, it was literally just the little thing, and it had a 2-day timeline to be repaired. They did it in an hour and a half. I am so grateful. It's a great day. I am happy. Just got here. How many technical problems have happened so far? I don't think we've had any. Yeah, you had some technical problems too, my friend, because I joined you on your show last night, Mr. Horse. When the chicks do it, absolutely. A chick said that floors me. Glory hole days. Well, you got to ask Jerry what the glory hole days are. Not sure what he is talking about. I hate it, but if the Niners did it, I wouldn't. Yeah, look, there's a part of me, and I am by no means flag football guy. I think for the youth, cool. We talked about that yesterday. But for professionals and adults in the Olympics, come on. Like, what are we doing? I said it yesterday. Are we going to bring hacky sack into the Olympics? Is Pogs going to make a revival? Like, it's just kind of silly to me. But with the tush push, I look at it in the same way that I look at youth flag football. Again, it's a football play, so you can't stop. I don't have a problem with the Eagles being really good at something and being proud about that. That's cool. Now, the way that Jeffrey Lurie takes it, I don't know if we're going that far. But when I watch the tush push, I just think about the attrition in the years that are coming off of careers of those linemen. Like, have you gone to an NFL game lately? Have you sat by the sidelines? Do you know how big those guys are? Hell, have you gone to a Division I college football game lately and sat by the sidelines? Those are massive human beings. And to be getting down that low, it's just in your neck, your head. Like, I cringe because I'm a fan of my team, but I'm also a fan of everybody walking off the field at the end of the day. And I'm just waiting for that game, that play where somebody's not going to be able to move. And you're going to see a really bad situation. So that play is tricky. So that's the way I look at it. Kind of like with the youth football, I prefer that over contact. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a problem, but I have a preference. So leave it there at that. So a lot to get to. Let's talk a little bit about last night. The Thunder victorious. A lot of people, man, hating on SGA. The Thunder go on a massive run in the second half. In fact, they dominated the third quarter 32-18. They ended the game, I believe, on a 20-4 run. They hold Minnesota to only 88 points, but there was a ton of people not liking the style that SGA plays. And it's kind of funny to me that there was so much pushback on it for game one of the Western Conference Finals that it makes you realize fans don't watch Oklahoma City. It's the same thing as Sacramento. You hear about it, you don't watch it, and then you finally watch it because SGA has always played the way that he played last night. Is he going to get some calls? Yes, he is, but that is his game. Did people just see SGA for the first time last night? Maybe Minnesota did, even though they played him a couple times this year. There's the numbers from the game. Chris Finch, after this one, stepped to the podium. Here's what he had to say about the Timberwolves' loss.
Chris, what made it so hard in the second half for defensively?
Yeah, I think we didn't have a lot of patience in the second half, and then our rushed offense.
Acknowledge me.
Didn't get a bunch of quality looks, and then it affected our defense. Honestly, we got some fouls early, which I thought made us a bit softer than we needed to be, and then it was just. Then when we did get good looks, they didn't go down. So.
You mentioned the defense became a little softer. Was that the main issue in your eyes on that end of the floor in the second?
Yeah, I think it was, like I said, our offense affected our defense, and that can't happen. And so.
Chris, the amount of good looks it seemed like you had from three. I mean, how do you feel just about?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of good shots out there. I think we got to clean things up a little bit. Sometimes the passes were late. Sometimes we weren't quite shot ready. Sometimes we need to turn them into other plays, But I did think that we got a number of really good looks, and we really couldn't connect when the game was kind of turning against us. So
Chris Finch has not been shy about calling out Anthony Edwards. And if you look at the numbers – and you've paid attention to them throughout the season, Minnesota relies a ton on the three ball, kind of under the radar, how much they rely on it. And the physicality, the matchups right now for Oklahoma City, the grind you out, I just don't know. With Minnesota right now, you got Rudy Gobert, who is closer to the end than the beginning. You've got Edwards, who's dinged up. Mike Conley, same story about being closer to the end. They're going to need to get it from somebody else. I mean, they're going to need a big series from somebody else. Now, the flip side of that coin is Oklahoma City has not exactly looked like they are ready at times this postseason. So can that carry over? Can they bring that with them on the road? Not saying Minnesota is a very difficult place to play. It's not going to be like MSG, but Oklahoma City, show me some consistency. And Oklahoma City just came out of a 7-game series too. Think about that as well. The Knicks got more time off. The Knicks and the Pacers, well, the Pacers wrapped up their series early, got more time off than the Thunder did. So maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that is a bad thing. Patrick, before you got here, what's up, by the way? I was talking about Knicks fan. Like, I scoured the internet for a good 90 minutes and I only found like 38 seconds of sound that could be played on this show. But what's the atmosphere like? They're moving the party. No outdoor party tonight. Okay. Interesting. It's being moved to radio. Is that because okay, Patrick, I'm stumbling here because I want to ask the right question. Is the minority right now causing a problem for the majority of the Knicks fans? I would be interested to know that. John Finch, I'm with you, dude. The slippery stairs, those things those look brutal, actually. If you asked me, you have to do the tush push or the brotherly shove for one play, or you got to do the slippery stairs. I don't know which one I'm doing. Slippery stairs look like they hurt. He does not condone that Indiana fan getting pelted on the street. Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton made up for that. I thought Tyrese did a really good job there. Tonight, again, you've got Knicks and Pacers kicking off from MSG. Knicks 4.5-point favorites in that one. Sabonis, he's a power forward. He needs a center to play alongside. Well, you had a center sitting on the bench that Doug Christie wasn't playing. Interesting enough, Bleacher Report has the Kings taking a center at 42. And don't get me wrong, you're going to have like 97 other iterations of mock drafts, but that was kind of interesting to me. Peter hopping in on the action. See the before and after pics. Former San Diego Chargers center Nick Hardwick. He slimmed down. Peter, it's a great point. Almost every single NFL lineman does that. You've seen it with Jeff Saturday. Howie Long's a defensive lineman, but you get my point. And they're not like wrestlers where they deflate. They actually look healthy. Yeah, they have to slim down because of the weight on their joints, the miles. Sabonis can do both. Let's be real. He can play center or power forward. It's got to be the right fit. It's got to be the right fit. And look, I think Doug is going to get a little bit, or let's say Doug got a little bit of latitude at the end of the season by not playing Valanciunas. But if the Kings are struggling in the first 25 games of the season, and he's had an entire training camp to figure out a scheme with those two, or at least something that is playable in a pinch where those two can be on the court together. If he's not playing them, I think he's going to get crushed. So I think that is going to be a big talking point, short of the Kings acquiring somebody else in the offseason. I asked Jerry this yesterday, and he completely agreed with me. The analogy I used earlier this week about Golden State. And when Steph Curry went out of the lineup, guys had to play out of position, out of their roles. And for the last 2 years, That's been the Kings' MO. They start guys out of position. They start them. You know what? I'm not even going to say they start them out of roles, because I don't know that everybody has their role and knows what their role is. Kevin Herter wasn't shy about talking about that. Doug Christie lined him up man to man when he took over as interim and told them their roles. They go on a good run, but then things kind of blended. You had some injuries. So, look, we're going to talk more about Domas here in a little bit because I want to get your guys' thoughts. Did he take a step forward this year? Did he take a step back? Did he take a sidestep? I'll give you mine on that here in a little bit. In fact, we can start putting up some Domas stats. I'll let you look at those as we continue to go down the questions. On the left, year-over-year stats for Domas. On the right, those are his splits from this season. If you don't know what the splits are, it's his stats broken down by month, by home, by road, by wins, by losses, etc., etc. There's a million different ways that you can do splits. So there is way more to this, but these are the most basic ones. So give those a look and start thinking about your answers there. Haunted Horse, damn it. Giants, 1 game behind the Dodgers, and you can't win a series versus KC. Are you really paying attention to baseball right now? Interesting. I guess you are. You are a hardcore Giants fan. We just another big to play with Sabonis. Okay, well, you got $20 million. Let me repeat that. You have $20 million. Devin Carter, as Peter pointed out, not included on this graphic. Look at the free agents. Now, some of them are restricted. 5.3? Is it 5.3? 5.1 is the most the Kings can offer Jake LaRavia. 5.1. I think that's actually pretty in line with his value. And we've talked about why I think it'd be a good idea for him personally to come back to this team. But 20 million, Dennis, man, like, where are you going to go out and find people? I don't think center is the number one priority. I think it's point guard. And then from point guard, it's to what Jerry said. You need that 4-5. So maybe that's the guy you're talking about, Dennis. I still call them the Oakland A's. Yeah, it's kind of weird that the A's don't attach a city to them. There you go. Horse has been to a World Series game. What's up, Al? Oakland is a joke. Oh, for 3 professional sports teams. Well played. Rhino, did I miss the type of car you purchased when your car was totaled? I went electric. So some of you were right on that. Not officially. Definitely the minority. The police didn't get, the police didn't like the kids on top of the billboards. Who would like kids on top of the billboards? Not a liability at all, right? Climbing poles. Didn't Philadelphia have to put like grease on their poles so people would not climb them? What I don't get is gang tackling is legal. Yeah, I think that's going to be one of those things that they start to look at as well. That's a good point, because you can sometimes go high and low at the same time with the gang tackling, and it's covered up by the gang. So interesting point there. Al loves Sabonis. Rizzing the indie guy, one thing. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. 100%. Peter, we got almost $26 million. Monty wasted that and much more, giving Mike Brown's new contract and dumping salary at the start. Coach's salary does not go towards it. I don't believe coaching salary goes towards it. In fact, I am almost certain of that. Fix your math. Don't make me call. Call here, Peter. Give me a call, Peter. Would love to talk to you, Peter. Good guy, Peter. You know, he has 2 buttons on the Haunted Horse show. That's pretty interesting as we continue to talk Kings. The grease didn't work. No, it didn't. I don't know. I am going off of a rough estimate from the publications, and the only people, to be quite honest with you, that know down to the dollar what the Kings have is the one Kings employee whose job it is to understand the entire situation and lay out the different paths the Kings have about taking an MLE versus not taking the MLE, yada, yada, yada. What screwed you up 100% is the Levine contract. You could kind of argue that the Sabonis extension, the timing of it was not great for this team continuing to progress. But I do think this, though. I do think this. Free agency is going to be different. I thought it was different last year. I think it's going to continue to be different. You remember the summers when we would see role players commonly get contracts for 4 or 5 years, $102 million. Like when the money was out of control, this CBA has completely U-turned that situation. I believe that not Mike Brown, but Malik Monk, I don't think that number was out there for him last summer. I think the Sacramento number combined with living in Sacramento, being a part of a team where he knew that he was going to be important to it and have an opportunity maybe to start, all that encompassed had him stay with the early bird rights. So I don't know what 20 gets you in free agency, but here's the difference. Last year, I said the Kings, in my opinion, needed to be proactive rather than reactive in free agency. Now, we knew they weren't going to be able to do a ton. They ended up getting DeMar DeRozan and obviously re-signing Malik. And at this last trade deadline, I said the same thing. They need to be proactive. And I wasn't speaking to De'Aaron Fox. I'm on record. Go back and watch those shows. Every time we talk about this, I inevitably hear, Rhino, you said trade Fox. Yes, I did say trade Fox. I didn't say trade him this second. You might have caught me in one of those heated moments, like get his ass out of town when he quit on the team against Detroit and then stood at the podium and acted even worse. Yeah, there were those moments, but it was get the best deal for Fox. But with that to the side, I said they needed to be proactive. They were. They got Valanciunas. I thought that was a good move. Now, this offseason, I think the Kings are going to have to be reactive. I think the Kings are going to have to let the market set itself and show guys that the money isn't there, and that is when the Kings pounce. They have to have their targets circled. Scott Perry, and in addition to what Jerry said, calling teams left and right, trying to see what they're trying to do. Heck yeah, I ask, he does. Peter, what's up, man?
Hi, Ryan.
How you
Can you hear
doing,
me?
bud? Yeah, I got you.
All right. Did you get that spreadsheet I sent you on the transactions from last year?
Yes, I did. It's buried in my email somewhere, though. You kept track of it. Yeah, you're right.
Well, I went back. Well, Spot Track has them all listed except for one transaction that was the trade of Jalen McDaniel that we got rid of. But really, it goes back to further when the start of the draft where we basically said we needed a 3-and-D wing, and we went ahead and drafted all guards. We drafted Devin Carter, and we drafted Jamal Sheed. And that's why I brought up on Jerry's show recently that what did Jamal Sheed do? Because if you don't know how can you go ahead and get somewhere if you don't know where you came from? And if you go back and you look at the history of what we did, even before the free agent market opened, you'll see that we made a bunch of terrible trades. We went ahead and we first of all picked point guards, and then we traded the point guards that we needed. We didn't have a true point guard my problem is this. I don't want to take up too much time.
No, you're good.
But we drafted Fox to be our point guard, and he seemed to be. And what I liked about him was he said, "Bet on me, like I'm going to bet on Sacramento," and that really endeared, I think, the fans to him. but he changed from being a defensive point guard to being more of a scoring point guard and not valuing the defensive side of the ball. So you guys were saying beforehand that Monk was more of the point guard than Fox was, and Fox ended up getting hurt anyways. But the point I was trying to make with that spreadsheet was, you can see that when we decided to get rid of Sasha Vasenkov, because we owed him $13 million for the next 2 years,
Right.
and to entice Toronto to take on that $13 million, we gave it Davion Mitchell 6.4,
Right.
and Jamal Sheed, which is $4 million over the length of those contracts, and we got back Jalen McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then what ends up happening is Sasha says, "Well, I'm going to go back to Europe." So now Toronto isn't on the hook for that $13 million anymore. So it's like we gave away Davion Mitchell and Jamal Sheed for free.
I don't know if Toronto might still be on the hook. I don't know how that works if a player. Well, that's a good question. I'll look at that. And by the way, your spreadsheet is up. Here's the thing, too, Peter, that we have to remember: the going rate to get under the salary cap or to stay out of the tax was a second-round pick. That's why all summer when you saw teams dumping salary, there was a second-round pick attached to it.
Yes, because we have virtually, well, for the next 2 years we have second-round picks, but after that, our second-round picks are gone.
Right.
And what I'm saying, what I've been mentioning before, and I asked before, was about Jamal Sheed. If you look at his numbers right there, he played 19.6 minutes per game over 75 games, and scored 7 points per game as a backup point guard for Toronto. I'm not saying he was going to be great or even a good point guard for us, but look what we gave up at the 45th pick last year, and we have the 42nd this year. So I'm just thinking we can still see value at the point guard position if we keep that 42nd pick and don't move it.
Oh, I agree with you. Look at Jalen Wells. He was a second-round pick, and he's first-team All-Rookie this year in Memphis.
And the other point I want to make is that Jamal Sheed played well enough that Toronto decided to keep him and ship out Davion Mitchell. And Davion Mitchell is a good player. He just needs to be in the right system, and he finally found that in Miami, and hopefully he can stay there.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. Spot on. Hey, I forgot about this spreadsheet. You nailed it, dude. I got it up on the screen right now. Love it.
And then further down, you can see where basically on October 15th, even before the season starts, we basically decided that Jalen McDaniels was not who we wanted on our team, and we shipped him out and gave San Antonio a pick and $2 million and said, "Here, take him off our hands."
Yep. You know what? This is you have next to the Valanciunas thing, best trade of the year. You nailed it. It was the best trade. Might have been the best trade during Monty McNair's time.
And what people miss on the Zach LaVine trade is that the first, if you compare the 2 years, because we got rid of Fox, we got rid of Herter, and they had 2 years on their contract, and Zach LaVine had 3. If you total those numbers up, and you see what went out, what payroll that went out, and the payroll that came in, you'll see that over the 2 years, including last year and this year, you saved $15 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem that I saw was, and you said it before, was the first time.
Really quick, you also got, because you got under, the Kings got about, I believe it was $12.1 or $12.2 million from the teams that paid into the tax. So they saved about 27.1.
Okay. So that's why I say that. Why can't you take that number and pay it forward and go ahead and say, well, even though Zach LaVine is going to be 49, he's really not, because you aren't. I mean, that number you saved, what that savings actually allowed us to do was get the Valanciunas trade, because we had the money to go after him,
right,
for last year. But I say that trade was a net savings of money, and it was a good trade. Unfortunately, yes, you have that big number there for his option, and he'll take it, I'm sure.
Of course.
But yeah, I think if we start getting players that play at their position, instead of just getting the best available player and thinking that somehow just because they're good players, and they play well at their position, you can't have three short shooting guards on the court.
And that's okay. So we're looking, and you're talking about Sheed. That's the thing. They looked at a point guard and said, "We don't need a point guard like that." Like, and I think that's where I have been trying to connect the dots, because there's a clear obsession between either that front office, this owner, or the analytics team that is telling the decision makers that the Kings should be playing guards that are in the middle, kind of like almost like they think that it's positionless basketball. And that's where I point back to Domas. I think the Kings really thought they could treat Domas like Jokic, and he's tried his best, but he ain't Jokic.
Well, not yes, that's I'd say that was true, but I'd also say you can't allow him to be down there on the block and getting pulverized by the next big guy that's come along to go ahead and for help defense. And when I look at what happened with Dallas and you look at Minnesota, look how big they are at the center position and the power forward position, and how much they can help. And you're asking him to take on two players.
Yep.
And that's hard enough.
100%. You hit the nail on the head. Hey, appreciate the call. Appreciate the spreadsheet. Thank you. And I'm sorry that I did not give that the respect it deserved. Everybody's loving it. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Good stuff from Peter. How about that? I feel bad that I forgot about this spreadsheet. It's a good spreadsheet. It's a damn good spreadsheet. This is what I love about all you that come to this community. These are the type of fans that you are. You ain't throwing trash cans at the other team's fans. You're throwing numbers into a spreadsheet. That's how much you care about this team. That's what separates this fan base to me from every other fan base in the NBA. I'm sorry, it just does. Grant disagrees with me. I think this is the best fan base in the NBA. Now, two ways of looking at what Peter's saying. We're talking whether it's 20 million, whether it's 27 million. Okay, here's the first problem. You have an owner that's not willing to go a penny over the budget. Is that because he doesn't have the money to do it? He doesn't want to pay the tax. He doesn't think this team can be good enough. There's many different avenues and explanations that you could surmise or get from Vivek Ranadive. But that is our first qualifier. We are looking at this number as a hard number. And unfortunately, as Kings fans, we have an understanding that it ain't going over that number. So that's what we've got to work with. It's not like, hey, this might be a really good opportunity that, yeah, you're going to pay a little bit over, Vivek, but like this could really tie the pieces to this team to get, nope, not going to pay over. It's just something that he does not seem like he is willing to do. Second point, Peter and I kind of hit this. It's the point guard thing. She could have been a very good fit here. Might have been. We can't honestly say that we know what this quote-unquote Beam Team era version of the Sacramento Kings look like with a true point guard, because we've never seen it. It's never been an option. Now, you could say, well, maybe a point guard didn't become available that they liked. You could say maybe they only drafted Sheed because they had plans to trade. You could make all these things up, but then you flip to the other side of the ledger and you look at how draft picks have been used and what the Kings have continually gone to, and it's the same well. It's drafting a 6'3", 6'2" guy that doesn't really handle the ball for the team, but isn't exactly a shooting guard. He's somewhere in the middle. Davion Mitchell, Devin Carter. And I think that is where Kings fans last year had a very difficult time understanding the pick with Devin. Take the injury out of it. Devin Carter might turn out and still be a great player. We've seen flashes from him. He certainly has the pedigree growing up around the NBA. playing with guys that are in the league when you're younger. That kind of stuff only makes you better. Seeing a dad handle himself professionally in the league, have that kind of pedigree, that's a big deal. There is something to that, right? So if you tally everything up and you're going by best player available, then if you're Monty McNair, you better be looking at, okay, we're taking another guard. We're getting rid of a guard. The Kings were forced by default to get rid of Davion Mitchell after Davion came off of arguably his best half of a season as a King when he got extended run. So the Kings were willing to move off of that to take Devin, but then leave a gaping hole at the forward position that a Dalton Connect, who fell in that draft, could have possibly filled. He had success for the Lakers at times, and then he fell out of JJ Redick's rotation. He was in a trade, and then he never really played anymore when the trade didn't go through. I guess what I'm saying is Peter's right about Jamal Sheed, but we'll never know. And I think this was truly a system thing. There's no other way to say it. Monty McNair, analytics, whoever had decision-making power, the final say, had somebody feeding them in their ear that this is the next thing. You don't need a traditional point guard. No. You go in between because they can do a little bit of everything. And it's five-man basketball. Well, here's the thing with five-man basketball, and Peter made the point about Sabonis just getting beat up night in and night out because he didn't have that second guy next to him. When you have a team that can play five-man basketball on both ends of the court, that's the key. It's not just on one end of the court. Oklahoma City plays five-man basketball on both ends. Your best defensive teams in the NBA can switch 1 through 5. You don't have that in Sacramento. Now, you have some pieces that are getting close to being able to do that, but guess what? You got decisions coming up on them as well. So it's a very interesting time to be Scott Perry. It's a very interesting time to be Doug Christie because I don't truly believe that Doug has as much autonomy as we all think. I don't. Because if he did, I don't think Mike Woodson is your associate head coach. Again, not a problem with Mike Woodson, but more of a problem of how we got to Mike Woodson. All right, I told you I wanted to talk about Domantas Sabonis. Did he take a step forward? Did he take a step back? Did he take a sidestep this year? I thought there were some interesting moments throughout the season. I thought there were some things that he certainly took a big step forward on. I also thought there were some areas that were very important to the Kings where he took a step back. Want to go back and listen to his exit interview. I'll intervene in between. And then also, there was one interview that he did during the Kings losing streak right around Christmas, right before Mike Brown got fired, that was very telling. We had already knew there was something brewing. Grant and I had talked about that. We had hinted at it, but Domas kind of tipped his hand, and I'm not sure that all of you caught it. So we'll play that as well, and we'll continue talking about him. Here was Domas during his exit interview this year.
Good morning.
Morning, Domas. If you could just describe the past 12 hours since the loss, the play-in loss, and just what that's been like with the departure of Monte and now the hiring of Scott.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. I'm hearing news as the meetings go on. So yeah, I don't have much to say right now. Just trying to take it all in.
Domas, when you look at your future, it's been widely reported that you want to know some answers on where the direction goes within this organization. What factors are you thinking about and considering when you're asking about being in Sacramento long term?
First of all, I want to say I love it here. You know, I want to stay here. I want to win here. I also do want to know what's going to happen. You know, all these things are happening so quick. You know, I want to get together with the new people, whoever comes in, you know, and really try to get this right, you know, and get it back to where it was year one.
Domas, along those lines, do you want to have a say? Like if you are
in the cards for this going forward? Do you want to have an active voice and an active, like I say, and maybe directions and decisions going forward?
Yeah, I wish, that would be great, to trust some of your guys who've been here longer on how to try and change things around.
I guess along those lines, you just said you're kind of learning of the news as it's happening.
So that was one of those interesting moments to me. We heard so much reporting throughout the season that guys they weren't consulted on certain decisions. Whether you agree with it or not, it's the norm in the NBA. If you're one of those guys on a team, not saying it's your decision, some teams take it too far, like LeBron, and I get LeBron is an all-time great. And no, we're not opening the can of worms about LeBron versus MJ. It's the most tired, beat conversation ever. But the fact that there is a conversation means dude's different than most every other NBA player that has or does play the game right now. The Lakers took it too far with him. He was running the team. Jerry and I said, you should just make LeBron the player coach. Now, credit to JJ Redick. I thought he did a great job this year, especially with Anthony Davis. I thought running the offense through Anthony was great. Now, back to Domas. Not necessarily on those guys' levels, right? But here in Sacramento, he's that guy. He deserves to be brought in on some of these things. And he's saying it publicly, and this is after how many reports that we went through that Domas is going to seek clarification on his future. And mind you, this is 24 hours after the Kings got bounced from the play-in in embarrassing fashion by the Dallas Mavericks. So it's a little raw, but he's being real. You have all this swirling around, and then you had the process play out that night that played out. We knew that night, we knew while the post-game show was going on who the GM was. Like, as soon as Monty, it was announced publicly, we heard how it went down. We also heard that who the head coach was going to be. And all of that played out. Domas wasn't consulted on it. Now, was Domas consulted or at least made his heard with his feelings about Mike Brown? I think so. I think that played in to Mike Brown being fired. In fact, if you want to play was it Fox? Was it Sabonis? It wasn't either of them. But if you had to push your chips to one side of the table, it would be pushed to Domas' side of the table. In fact, I take you back to that losing streak. Domas was listed as questionable on the injury report. They had had a few games. I think they had two. It was either a back-to-back or it was 3 games in 4 nights. And he popped up questionable. He really probably was not going to play that night. I remember this night. He plays, the Kings lose. Check out the interview.
A day away from each other, perhaps. I mean, is there a way to have tough conversations and look at something there kind of moments?
We just got to work. I mean, we dug ourselves in a pretty bad hole right now, and everyone just got to come in and work. Watch film, come in, lift, shoot, do whatever you got to do to get everyone's confidence back.
When you popped up in the injury report earlier today, did you think you'd end up playing 31.5 minutes tonight?
I did not. We're at this point where I can't really rest. Even if it's hurting, we got to try and win games, and I feel like my team needed me.
How are you feeling after this one?
Domas Sabonis, the heart and soul of the Sacramento Kings. And I'm not saying that in a mocking way. There's a joke that he's like half man, half machine, because the game doesn't start until he gets hit in the face. A guy that has the fracture on his thumb, misses one game, plays through it last season or 2 seasons ago. Like, this is a dude that will do whatever you ask him to do. He plays hurt. He gives it his all. For him to step up and say, yeah, I'm surprised I played that much. That was one of those moments where it's like, all right, there's the rift. There's the rift. So I think it's been reported that Domas was not a fan towards the end of Mike Brown, and understandably so. I think Domas was being, I don't think, I mean this in all reality, I think Domas was being asked to do different things on any given night. I think things were fluid with what Domas was being asked to do. Back to the point guard conversation. I think it's very clear that the Kings said, or their analytics said, Domas is your point guard. And then the analytics started saying, whoa, pick and roll. That works well too. What was the whole thing about Domas when the Kings lost in 7? Man, he's got to be able to step up and make a jump shot. What's he do? He starts working on that jump shot. And that's where I go back to him improving. Now, one thing that is a little bit confusing to me, which I will admit, is Domas has always been, for the most part, a very good decision maker. He hasn't always been the quickest decision maker, but he's been a very good decision maker. You see it in his assist numbers. You see it, the turnover numbers. Here's what you have to remember. His burn rate was through the roof. The ball was in his hands so much in 24-25 and 23-24, 22-23 too. I mean, his burn rate was through the roof, which is why he and Fox were both in the top 15 in 23-24 in turnovers in the NBA. So that plays into it to a degree, but the hesitation to take the mid-range jumper, that one is still, for me, what's kind of up in the air with Domas's game, especially with what we saw this year with his three-point game. At the beginning of training camp, Mike Brown put a number to it. He said he would like to see 4 or 5 threes from Domas, and depending on whether or not they're falling, maybe you get some more. Domas was one of the better three-point shooters on this team this year. Second or third best by percentage, if I'm going off the top of my head. Shot the ball at a 41.7% rate from beyond the arc. Here's the problem. He was only shooting 2.2 per game. And there was a little bit of that hesitation. And I went back before I decided to do this show today, and I watched a bunch of Domas's threes. And on many of his three-point attempts, I would say close to 50%. And I wonder if this will trigger in your memory as well. There was a hesitation to shoot it. Why hesitate? You're shooting the ball at 41.7% from beyond the arc. But if you're shooting the three ball well, why are you so hesitant to shoot from the mid-range? Because that's what ends up opening up things for everybody else. I thought his pick and roll game was off the charts this year. Now, he fouled out more times this year than he had fouled out in his entire career. And part of that goes on Domas. You got to be a little bit better. But a ton of that goes on the guards too. The use of Domas's screens was piss poor at times, and especially when Zach LaVine got here. And I don't expect their pick and roll game to be shiny and sharp when they've never played together before, but there were some mind-blowing mistakes. And even this year, looking back, there was some mind-blowing mistakes that Domas would make, just silly passes that were a second late. Like you saw it developing and you knew it was going to be intercepted. You know, like those pick sixes, you could see it coming. It didn't take a basketball genius. And those happened a few more times. But all in all, he ends the season with a 2.7 net rating, plus minus. Not terrible. No, excuse me. 2.1 this year. His career high was 2.7 in 22-23. Last year, net rating, check this out, was only 0.8. So the three ball is what really helped his game and at times helped open things up for the offense. All in all this year, and I could go down stat line by stat line, I could go down game by game. How about his 28 rebound performance? Check that. 228 rebound performances this season. One was against Boston. 28 boards, 22 against Brooklyn. 21. Guy was a beast on the boards. The assists were a little bit less consistent, but the ball wasn't in his hands as much. Knowing what I know and knowing that there's combinations and things that the Kings can play to make Domas better, to bring out a better version of him, I can't say anything else, but he took a sidestep this year. I can't say he took a step back. I can't say he took a step forward. Really, the 3-point addition to his game is what kind of solidified that for me. Domas and Valanciunas brought the Kings back the first time they hit the court together. I think there was a lot more that could have been done for Domas scheme-wise, and I think that led to some frustration from Domas. But he's the type of player that's not going to complain. He's going to do what's asked. But most guys, night in, night out, if you are that guy for a franchise, and if you look at the Kings payroll, he's that guy, you know what your role's going to be night in and night out. And some nights, the Kings would only get Domas a couple of looks per half. So I think Domas had to adjust more than anybody else knows. So I can't say he took a step back this year. I can't. I'm interested to see where all of you come out on that. Here was the rest of Domas's press conference, his exit interview.
Did anybody consult you at all, whether that be with the Monty decision or the hiring or anything like that?
No, nothing at all.
And then can I just ask you about Keegan Murray had a little bit of an up and down season offensively. Obviously, he took on a larger defensive role this year, but how would you just evaluate Keegan's season?
He stayed professional. He stayed working. It's only his third year, and this is probably my craziest year in the league too. So for him to go through that really early, I'm happy he had some good vets around him, that we could help him out and get through the year, and he really embraced his role as it changed throughout the season.
Domas, Doug Christie, you work with him a lot into your.
Yeah, I think was it Will Zimmerly that threw that out? I don't think that's happening. It would be a great fit. I don't see that happening. What are you doing with Valanciunas? You would have to also have a plan probably for Valanciunas as well. And when you look at the Kings payroll, he is on one of the more friendly contracts. You take Malik Monk away from this team, where is your pick and roll threat? The best version of the Kings this year, by far the best version of the Kings that we saw was when the Kings centered their offense around pick and roll. And that started with Malik and Domas. That's always been there. They should have shifted that focus a long time ago. But then they went away from it. And I know both of those guys were hurt at different times, but I don't. And here's the other thing. For a team that doesn't necessarily have that bona fide leader, like where you point and say, that's the leader of the team, like Anthony Edwards in Minnesota, like Braun in LA, like SGA in Oklahoma City. For a team that doesn't have that, Malik Monk is he is almost as important off the court behind the scenes for his teammates as he is on the court. There's so many times where guys don't want to speak up, and Malik is the voice for them. He advocates for them. When things get too low, Malik makes things lighter, and vice versa. I don't know how this team looks without Malik, and that's a good contract too. I do love Jared Allen, though. I do. You have to worry about his injuries, though. That's one thing you have to worry about. And you got to wonder about this year. He had a great year. Was that a fit scheme thing? You got to look at that too. And I don't know what the money is. I'm sure somebody has put that in the chat. Here's Domas again.
Home country. Just wanted to to get your thoughts on him and the work that he did this season, which was under some really extreme circumstances.
He loves the team, he loves the franchise, he loves the city. He's gonna give everything he has, every day. And I feel like that's why we work so good. We were just together in the office talking. If he does get the job, what's gonna happen this?
By the way, Jarrett Allen signed last year during free agency at $20 million. That's what I'm saying about the Kings having to be take trades away, but actual free agents that you might be signing, they're going to have to be reactive and not proactive. I just don't think there's that guy out there that you are for sure overpaying for. There might be one or two of them, but that's where the Kings need to have that list. And when that player is not getting the number that he wants from the open market, I think that is where maybe the Kings can swoop in and do something with a player. But look at that discrepancy. $20 million. Right around what Monk's making. Interesting. Domuskin.
Summer, who am I going to work with and stuff like that, so, I love Doug to death, and we'll see what happens.
Domas, we didn't have a chance to ask you last night, just your thoughts on last night's game and your personal performance and just the frustration you might have had with the result of last night and how it all went in that second quarter.
I just feel like we had a plan that we practiced, 3 days, and we didn't execute the plan, nor defense or offense, and that was the outcome.
Domas, DeMar talked a little bit about the need for some tweaks. Obviously, this team went through a lot of injuries, a lot of changes, ups and downs, and it's understandable that it would be hard to be cohesive on the court. What, in your estimations, do you agree with that there needs to be some tweaks, and maybe where would be a spot that you think?
The biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Whew. Straight fire from Domas. We need a point guard. That's for sure. He's speaking up. I love it. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting. This is, to me, where it gets really interesting. Theoretically, Domas is that guy on the payroll that you should be building around. And this is all assuming that Domas wants to stay here and he gets clarification on the direction of this team. It's assuming that he gets brought in or at least has a say in some of the things going on with the team. I think he's earned that at the very least. And again, whether you disagree with players having a say or you agree, it's just the fact of the way that business is done in the NBA now. It's how it is. If you are a team that's not giving your guys a say, then you're not probably getting many agents telling their guys, go play for that team. There's a few exceptions. Pat Riley didn't exactly give in to Jimmy Butler. But I think the biggest challenge for the Kings is going to be this. If you're looking to shake things up, if you're looking to kind of, even though financially it's not feasible right now, but break things down to the studs, you got to make, I know he does. Grant says no players should have a say. Bottom line is they do. You got to, it's a fact. That's all I'm saying. It's a fact. You can like it or not like it, but it's a fact. It's how the league operates right now. So back to what I was saying, if you're the Kings and you're looking at this strategically and you say, okay, Domas, probably one of our more valuable pieces if we're going to trade him, well, you got to feature him right too, right? You got to make sure that he's having a good season. Now, the other side of that is the Zach LaVine thing. I said yesterday, and I don't know, maybe the tech broke in and broke out. You didn't catch it. But I said, if you had a CPA, look at the Kings payroll and what each player is doing and producing and what their market value would be compared to the rest of the NBA, and you put them on either an asset side or a liability side of a balance sheet based on all that. Domas, to me, 100% is on the asset side. But that market for Domas, to me, is a little bit more limited because he's kind of a niche guy. And you also kind of have to ask yourself, has Sacramento indirectly hurt Domas's value with the way that they've used him? Maybe if they used him a different way, that value is right there and it works for many other teams. But I think he is not a plug and play guy, especially not at $50 million a year. It's got to be the right system. It's got to be the right personnel around him. But all that said, he's still an asset. You know who is not, in my opinion? Zach LaVine. I don't think anybody here can argue with me on that. The CPA would put Zach LaVine under the liability side. Well, how do you combat that? You build a system around him. You feature him. Well, one, you better hope he can stay on the court like he did last year. And hopefully he does that again this year. But you have got to find a way to turn that contract from a liability to an asset. Because that is one of the quicker ways to turn this team around quickly outside of Zach LaVine going absolutely bonkers and playing at an MVP level. If he's doing that, not only does that contract possibly turn into an asset, but this Kings team is winning. You have something here. So how are the Kings going to put a system together that plays the best for Domas and keeps him at market value compared to the rest of the league? And how do you turn Zach LaVine into an asset? I think it's one of the most interesting conversations. And all the while that you have that going on, you're evaluating Keegan Murray. He's wanting to start extension talks. Keon Ellis. So it's really, to me, interesting. And I think Domas has really put his foot down in his own way. And he sees, I truly think he sees a way forward. He just doesn't know if anybody is listening. So tell me what you think. Do you think he took a step forward? Did he take a step back last year? Did he take a sidestep? Put it in the chat. You can call the show as well if you would like to. We still have to talk about Jeffrey Lurie. If you weren't with us at the beginning of the show, the tush push, the brotherly shove will remain in the NFL. And Jeffrey Lurie was very excited about it, to say the least, to the point that he made a reference Again, if you're just joining the show, I played Jerry Jones at the beginning, and I said, this seems like it should be on like PBS television compared to what Jeffrey Lurie
Everybody
said.
involved. For me, it's a reminder. I too been here 23 years. And it is a reminder. I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so, having said that, I want me some glory hole.
Just wait. Again, to be a fly on the wall for these owners' meetings, I can't imagine what it was like. And if they were smart, they had half a brain, they would hold the owners' meetings at Bennett's. I mean, what about the Rockland location, the West Side Grill, the newest one? Beautiful patio. You just block that patio off for them. Great weather. They can get an awesome cut, prime cut of steak. You can get the redfish, great fresh seafood. Want something lighter? Not a problem. They've got some great sandwich specials at lunchtime, happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock, all 3 locations. Rockland, Roseville, Howe, and Fair Oaks. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can check out all of their menus and sign up for their email newsletter, because Brian will pop out all the time. Well, not all the time, but usually once, twice a year with some seasonal menus that are incredible. So you get that sent straight to your email, but go check them out. They have been so good to us on the channel, and all of you have been great about going, enjoying it, giving us feedback on it, which we give to Brian, and let us know when you go to, because we'll retweet that online. But definitely one of my favorite places. And heck, they've got a beautiful private dining room at the Howe and Fair Oaks location. The owners would fit perfectly in there around the bottles of wine. Come on, NFL, get with it. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com and you can make reservations. You can put to-go orders in and more right there. Big thanks to Brian, Margot, and the team, and all of you for helping support Bennett's, sponsoring today the King's Court. Go check them out. Sorry in advance. Gonna make you hungry. Which one you going for? Which way you going? You going steak? It's hard not to go steak. That shrimp cocktail, though. Oh, come on. Look at that filet at the top with the grilled tomatoes. All right. Now I am just making everybody hungry. So back to the chat. Redfish, dude. Love redfish. We having a draft party at Bennett. So interesting that you ask that. I don't know that it will be a draft party, but it has been a couple of years since we have done anything like that. So for the playoffs in 22-23, we did our shows we did a couple shows from Bennett's. And then we did a couple from some other locations and restaurants downtown. But it's been too long. So when Grant comes back to town, we will definitely let you know in advance. And we are hoping to do something. Remember, some of you were a part of this. Grant and I got our heads shaved at the Bennett's in Roseville. We raised $16,000 for charity. Yes, there is video of us shaving our heads. John Finch was there. It's a lot of you that were there. That was a big event. We took over basically the entire restaurant. So thanks for coming out. But to answer your question, we are looking to put something together along those lines where we can all get together, watch a game. We can, maybe if it's the draft, but you know what? Isn't it kind of anticlimactic to do a draft party if the Kings are picking 42nd? Like, Adam Silver isn't even making your announcement. It's the deputy commissioner. No respect or no disrespect to the 42nd pick, but maybe not a draft party. But we will do an event. We are already in talks about putting something like that together when Grant is able to make it back from Florida. Yes, Grant is traveling right now. He had a beautiful view, if you didn't catch that on his show last night. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple minute, about 90-second warning. 90-second warning. If you got the little ones around, might be a good time to send them into the kitchen, maybe get a little snack before dinner. If you are in the car and hopefully not watching, but listening, maybe change the channel for about 5 minutes. Yeah, we can marinate on it. You think we should marinate on it? We can marinate on it. Adam, do you think we can marinate on a draft party? Are you okay with that? Let's see.
I want to let it marinate a bit.
Yeah, you should. You should let it marinate a bit. You know, Adam, also, you don't want it to just marinate. You want to make sure you bring that steak to room temperature before you throw it on the grill. All right? I mean, you do know what to do with the steak.
Of the physical, grinding.
You grind with a steak? Anyways, Adam, it's getting weird. Am I coming on the show? Why should kids not be listening? Because I'm giving fair warning. Because you know why? You know why? Let me tell you why, Haunted Horse. Let me let you in to my world for a second. See this pen? See how it's flat right now? In my mind, this pen is teetering. You know why it's teetering? Because I'm not sure whether it's time to have the talk or not with my almost 11-year-old son. It's teetering like that. It's a different world these days with the internet. And as much as you try to filter parental setting, avoid certain things, it makes its way back to the kiddos. Okay? So because I am at that point where it's going back and forth, like, is it time? Is it not time? I don't want to be the reason on this next story that somebody turns to their parent and says, "What's that?" And I indirectly put them in that position. So I am being respectful. HH did all right with no talk. Oh my gosh. That's pretty. Kawhi thinks that's pretty funny, Tristan. Yeah, what is he on? Number 4 or 5 right now? Haunted Horse, man. Haunted Horse actually admitted that he has a child. That was weird. I thought I knew this guy. He's been on this show. He's dined at my house. He's met my son. And he goes on national radio to tell everybody that he has an illegitimate child instead of just simply telling me. Would have been nice to know. Thanks, Haunted Horse. Thought we were buddies, dude. I mean, don't take it from me. Take it from Rome.
Haunted Double O Horse. Jim, I also fathered an illegitimate child.
See? How about that? All right. So we talked about, okay, your warning's out. The 90 seconds have expired. I teased this whole thing with Jerry Jones and what he said being pretty mild compared to Jeffrey Lurie. There's been this big debate now for almost, it feels like 2 seasons, but a season as to whether or not the tush push, the brotherly shove should be allowed somewhere in the neighborhood of 22 teams. We're kind of on the fence about it, right? And I get it. It's a football play. It's really hard to bar a football play that you come up with, but it's a rugby play at the end of the day. That's what it is. My concern is for the player safety. But at the end of the day, if you execute better than the other team, was it Vince Lombardi that said we can tell the other team what we're going to run and we will still run it successfully because we're that good at it, right? Like, it's one of those things. So I see both sides of the argument. I gave you my thoughts earlier on what what I thought about it and my concerns over it. Bottom line, it is staying at least for another year in the NFL. It has dominated a lot of the talk when it comes to the ownership meetings, the rule changes. We talked about the rule change to onside kicks that is now in effect. So Jeffrey Lurie has made it very known that this should not be taken out of football. Well, today it was voted on and decided that it would not be taken out of football. Seth Wickersham, very respected, incredible NFL reporter, inside the tush push debate, filed to ESPN toward the end of a speech that lasted close to an hour. Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie made an off-the-cuff analogy that it was, quote, like a wet dream for a teenage boy, end quote.
I can't control my horny level.
To create a play that was so successful that the only way for it to be stopped was for it to be banned. Later in the meeting, Troy Vincent, NFL EVP, chastised him for it. What are we doing? That made it out to the media. Can you imagine?
I can't control my horny level.
What doesn't make it out to the media from this group of old dudes and perverts? Forgive me. I'm sure some of you have watched the Squid Games on Netflix. Like, do all of these dudes just get together in their robes? Do they have their crazy masks to hide their identity? What was he thinking? Like, in this day and age?
Everybody involved. For me, it's a reminder. I too been here 23 years. And it is a reminder. I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so
I get passion for football. I get passion for success. I get being excited about creating something that has impacted the game so heavily the past couple years. But to use the analogy that
was all a dream.
Come on. What's next? Is Jerry Jones or Jeffrey Lurie going to show up at their local elementary school to read the kids D's nuts? Incredible. Like if you're Seth Wickersham, can you believe that you're penning that out? Troy Vincent, NFL EVP, chastised him for it. Think about how this went down. It's like Jeffrey Lurie is presenting his end of the year project that has 40% of your grade weighted into it. And this knucklehead actually put together a really good presentation. A really good presentation. But you know what? He didn't give a crap about his grade. He didn't give a crap about his presentation. All he cared about was getting off a one-liner right at the end of it. It's like kids going across the graduation stage where you go through the day before and you're like, warned, if you try to do anything while you're walking across the stage, we're not going to give you your diploma, even though we know our diplomas aren't actually in those folders that you're handing us. And inevitably, 2, 3, 4 kids try to do something cute, a stage dive here, an open gown there, bowing down to the superintendent. You know what I'm saying? And they have to be drug off the stage. The NFL, Troy Vincent had to grab Jeffrey Lurie by the arm and drag him out of the room.
It's a complete crap.
Do you think Troy Vincent had to call Jeffrey Lurie's parents? Do you think Jeffrey Lurie now has to be at the next owners meetings 2 hours earlier than everybody else and write on a board? I will not compare the success of football plays to
It was all a dream.
Come on. Like, how we're even are we being trolled? We have to. We're being trolled. I mean, that team didn't just win the championship, right? All eyes aren't on that franchise, right? We talked about the New York fans being knuckleheads. You are throwing gasoline on a fan base that is far worse.
New York Knicks run New York City! Bing bong! Tell me a little something, KD. Don't you regret not coming to the Knicks?
Jeffrey Lurie is no better than those pole climbers, than those Philly fans eating crap sandos, horse crap sandos. Come on. I'm afraid to look at your reaction. Dennis, I can't put that up. Patrick, yes, good luck tonight to your Knicks. I am actually pulling for the Knicks. It has nothing to do with Tyrese Halliburton. But I will say this. You have a team that is the most physical in the NBA going up against a team that likes to play at a massively frenetic pace. They like cross matches. I wonder how the will of each team is going to play out. So whoever wins that battle, whoever decides the style of game it's going to be, will probably win that game and go on to win the series. But Nick and Patrick, I hope I said it before. I think that the NBA is better when the Knicks are better. And how about Jalen Brunson, too, by the way? Dude left money on the table for this opportunity. He left money on the table to make this team better. And here they are. So I could do, though, I'm not going to lie, I could do without the celebrity row stuff all the time. It's a little bit too much. Like, yeah, Ben Stiller, great. But Stephen A. Smith interviewing Ben Stiller about the basketball game, and credit to Ben Stiller, he actually knew what he was talking about for the most part. But I'm okay with it. You show the celebrities, be done with it. But that's how they match up. 4.5 point favorites. New York is tonight. It would be bad juju, I'm telling you, if you let the Pacers come in and get this one tonight. Reggie Miller, I'm sure, will be featured a lot. Can't stand him. Cannot stand Reggie Miller's commentary. But nonetheless, it'll be fun seeing the inside guys. They're live. In fact, they are on right now. After game 4, by the way, of this series, there's going to be a special that TNT does that is kind of a behind the scenes documentary style film thing on the inside guys. It followed them for 4 games earlier this season. Look forward to that. I think you'll want to catch that. They've done something like that in the past, but considering this is the end of the run on TNT, yeah, Patrick, when it becomes this time of year, Yeah, it just happens. You get priced out. I one time was chosen for standing room only tickets for a Giants World Series game. $400. 400 ducats for standing room only. Was not going to throw that out. And that was what? That was over 10 years ago. Holy bleep. You're not going to have to wait 10 years to hear from Napes. You only got to wait a couple hours. In fact, right around the time the basketball game's wrapping up, Grant will be on. Join him at 8 o'clock Pacific. He'll be taking your questions, breaking down the game, and I wonder if he will have any reaction to Jeffrey Lurie. I wonder if he will have anything to say about that. Either way, join him tonight, 8 o'clock. He is traveling. He's got a beautiful view. I'm sure he'll probably show you again. But that's the beauty of being able to do this show wherever we are. That is the beauty of it. So, all right, y'all. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making it a fun day. Thank you for keeping it relatively PG. Can you imagine Troy Vincent, a grown ass adult, having to go over and grab another adult who owns a professional sports franchise and discipline them for saying something like that?
It was all a dream.
I'm just shocked. Good show, Punk. Appreciate it. Let's go. Get him tonight, Patrick. Believe after the game, or after, yeah, exactly. Game 4. After game 4. That's exactly when they will be airing that special. All right. Appreciate y'all. Go if you want to watch some tomfoolery. Go check out Haunted Horses flick going on at 5 o'clock at HollywoodRejects.com. You can find the show there. You can find it on his Twitter page as well, at Haunted Horse. Also, again, Grant 8, come back, join him. Big shout out to Peter today. Hell of a job, Peter. Great call. Thank you for reminding me of that spreadsheet. It's what I love about this community and all you. So well done, Mr. Anderson. Haunted Horse, I think he deserves a 3rd button. I know you guys don't know what that means. They do. So we'll catch you on the other side. We'll be back tomorrow live at 3 o'clock. But before then, Grant coming up with you at 8 o'clock. Yes, please hit the thumbs up button. Means a lot to us and the channel. We will continue coming at you with a ton of content through this late springtime, early summer. Before you know it, we are going to be into the NFL, and then we'll be into Kings training camp. So we'll get you over to next season. We'll do it together. Appreciate everybody. Go Kings. Light the beam. Court is dismissed. Man, Jeffrey Lurie, dude, you need to be dismissed.
It was all a dream.